Hi guys, welcome to English 232, American Literature 2. I am Lisa Osborne. I'm your instructor for this semester, and this video is just going to kind of walk you through the syllabus. It's probably the longest video that you'll have this semester, but the purpose of it is to make sure that you understand all the course policies, that you understand what we're doing this semester, that you kind of get introduced to the course a little bit. It's basically what you would get on the first day of class if we were meeting face to face. So I'm going to walk through all of the details here that you see on the syllabus. You can print the syllabus out, you can save it, you can pull it up on your screen, you can do whatever you need to do in order to have a copy of the syllabus. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me at any point. Hopefully they'll be answered, and then also, of course, to complete the enrollment verification assignment, you'll be reading through or watching this video, I guess, with the syllabus, and then answering some questions about it, and at the end you'll ask a question. So if you have questions, you can put those there as well. All right, so who am I? I'm Lisa Osborne, like I said. I am your instructor for the summer 2018 for American Lit 2, which covers American literature from 1865 to now. Although, really, it's not like right now, it's whenever our textbook was published. I actually am talking about office hours here. I don't have an office. It's the summer, for one, so most of your instructors don't spend much time in their office in the summer, but I don't actually live in Wilmington. I moved away from Wilmington in May of 2016. I moved to the Charlotte area, still North Carolina, but kind of far. So there's no real way for you guys to meet with me face to face. So if you do need to meet with me, it will have to be via phone, or if you want to Skype, we can Skype. I've never really used Skype, but I would if you wanted me to. So in terms of this phone number that you see here, this is actually the English Department Secretary's phone number. I used to give out my personal number when I was a very new instructor, but that was a terrible idea, so I don't do that anymore. If you do want to get in touch with me, you can sign up for the Remind app, and that will give us the opportunity to text message, but without sharing our phone numbers. So if you want to do that, there's more information at Blackboard that you can, I guess, look up, and you'll see in the announcement section there's an announcement about Remind. So that's probably the fastest way to get in touch with me. However, there's also my email here. If you've ever taken a class with me in the past, my email was different. It was lrgraham529. This should say 5, not 6. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? But I got married, so my last name changed, and now you can send the email to either of those addresses. Actually, both of them still work. Okay, so this class is 3 hours a week, 3 credit hours. You can log into Blackboard as much or as little. I shouldn't probably say that, but you can log into Blackboard as much or as little as you need to in order to complete the assignment. So even though it's a 3-hour class, some of you might spend exactly 3 hours a week working on the assignments. Most people will probably spend more time than that. Some of you will spend less time than that, although I'm not sure that that's a good idea. Okay, so most of you have probably taken English 112 in the past in order to be in this class, but some of you may have taken English 113, which is no longer a class that we offer anymore. If you did take English 113, you're probably the most well prepared for this course. And then, of course, there's English 114 that you could have taken as well. Okay, so the course description is essentially what you see here. We're talking about American Lit. We're talking about 1865 to the present. So that is like post-Civil War literature. There will be some themes of like post-slavery. There will be certainly themes of feminism, of women and trying to get their rights, like the right to vote, things like that. There will be a lot of like regionalist narratives about America and certain locations, and I actually find that those are the most interesting to read. And let's see, there'll be, like Mark Twain is kind of the cornerstone of American Lit in this time period, like around 1865. We're not going to read Mark Twain because all of his writing is really, really long, and we just don't have time for that. All the good stuff, at least, is really long, you know, like Huck Finn and stuff like that. We're not going to read that. You probably read it in high school anyway. So, Emily Dickinson, she's another example of American Lit author in this time period. So we're going to cover a lot of readings. We'll cover some chapter content because it's going to give us a historical understanding of what we're reading. And I think that for this content, even though you don't always have to approach a text from a historical perspective, I think with a lot of this stuff, that's the best way to make sense of it, at least for me. A side note, or maybe something I should be fully transparent about, is that I actually like British literature better than American Lit. So sometimes American Lit is hard for me to digest, which is why I really like the format of the class with all of the discussion that we'll have, because I think that you guys will maybe present some perspectives that I'm not aware of or that I don't particularly share, which I think will help for making some really interesting discussion. So I prefer British Lit, particularly the Victorian period, but then, I mean, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, so there's that too. So what am I talking about? Basically about this class, American Lit. Yeah, we'll get into it, and you'll hopefully get to see what it's all about by the time the semester is over. So basically what you need to know that we are doing this semester is analyzing, interpreting, evaluating texts, and with a critical eye. You know, we're not going to be talking about like, oh, I really liked this because, not so much that. It's more like, I found this interesting because... And I think there's a difference between liking something and finding something interesting. I find a lot of things interesting that I don't particularly like. So we'll talk more about that. We'll talk about close reading, about what to do with a text. And then we'll write a lot. We will write discussion board posts. We will write close reading paragraphs, and we'll write a final cumulative essay based on one of the texts that we've read this semester. So it'll be fun. Let's see. Course education competencies. I'm going to skip these. You can read those on your own. Let's get into what you really want to know. Required texts and materials. So you have to have this book. It looks like this. It's called the Norton Anthology of American Lit. It's the shorter 9th edition. You can't really see that here, but it's written in small print here. It's sort of like a pinkish red cover with this lady, yeah, painting a picture. I'm sure this is like an important work of art that I don't know about. You can rent this book on Amazon for $35. At least the last time I checked, it was $35. Now this takes you to the paperback to buy new. There's some used versions. I guess you can't rent it on Amazon anymore. Hold on. Let's see, rental? Sorry guys, all of the rented versions are gone. You can purchase them used though. It looks like you can get it for $44. I don't know if any of you have Amazon Prime, but it doesn't look like that's an option here. So buy it used if you can. It'll be a little bit cheaper, and I will go ahead and send this email out so that you can get some of these less expensive copies. So I don't know where the rentals went. I guess they all got rented. Sorry. I'll have to change that. Okay, anyway, don't rent it. Buy it. I'm going to just erase this. Okay, we're done. What else do you need to know? What else do you need? General knowledge of MLA format. So I would just recommend the Purdue OWL. Now, if you just got out of 112, you may have some knowledge about MLA format. You might have a handbook or something like that that you can use as well. Let me just jump back up here and talk about this, because I know I'm going to get this question. So somebody or multiple people are going to email me and think like, holy snapdragons, $45 is a lot of money to spend on a book of literature that's probably on the internet. Miss Osborne, do I need to buy this book? Yes, I think. So here's the deal. Every week, I am going to give you a choice of 6 readings, and you have to pick 3 of them, and you have to read them, and you have to talk about them. Can you probably find at least 3 of the readings that you have to read each week online? Yes, I think so. A lot of these texts, particularly the older texts, are in the public domain. Once we get to the 3rd unit where we're looking at much more present stuff, you might have a harder time. I haven't gone through and looked at everything, so I can't confirm whether this is true. You might have a harder time finding these texts online. So it's really, I think you need to use your best judgment. If you can find the texts online, if that's not going to stress you out, then that's fine. However, there's 3 chapter content pages, not 3 pages, but pages of chapter content within this textbook that you will be quizzed on. You cannot find those pages online. So if you want to wing it, like if you don't want to buy the book, or if you want to maybe go to the library and borrow the reserved copy to complete those quizzes, you could do that. If you have a friend who has taken this class and they have a copy of the book and you want to just borrow that copy for those quizzes, you could probably do that. So what am I saying? I'm saying that from my perspective, it will be the easiest option is to buy the book. Can you do this class without the book because you have access to some of the material outside of class? Sure. Can you score 100% on the quizzes if you don't have the book, if you don't have access to the book? I don't know, but can you get free access to the book somewhere else, like at the CSCC library on reserve? Yes, you can. Do they have a copy for rent? I don't know. Probably not. I'm sure they have a deal with the bookstore where like you can't rent textbooks at the library for free. I don't know. So it's something to use your best judgment about. Please don't email me and ask if you need to have the book. This is my answer. You decide whether you can do it without the book or not. Okay. Maybe you take the first quiz and you think, crap, I need the book. So go ahead and buy it. That's fine. Whatever works for you works for me, because I'm not the one taking the class. I'm just the one teaching the class. I think it will be easiest with the book, but maybe some of you are like anti-textbooks, which I totally understand. I was in college. They are not cheap at all. Okay, let's move on. So assignments. What am I grading you on this semester? Well, you will have weekly discussion boards for the first 9 weeks of the class. So you'll have 9 discussion boards. Each one is worth 5%. That's 50 points. So that's a total of, if I'm doing my math right, that's a total of 45%. Or 450 points. So almost half the class is discussion. And that's really, that is really characteristic of a literature class, because the majority of what you do in a lit class is you sit around and you talk about the readings. So what that means is that you have to do the readings. You really cannot be successful in this class if you don't do the readings. If you half-ass the readings or half-read the readings, you can't get away with that. Some of you are like, oh, watch me, I'm going to try. I get it. I think part of college is about figuring out what you don't have to do. But just keep in mind that 45% of this class is the discussion board. So if you skip a lot of them, then you're getting zeros for a big chunk of this class. So don't skip them. Also, you'll have 6 close reading response paragraphs. These are 1 paragraph responses, digging into an element of the text, and I'll talk more about that in just a second, but they're only just a paragraph. And the reason they're a paragraph is because to prepare you for the final essay, I want you to be able to write a successful paragraph. I've taught literary analysis in English 112 in the past, and I've felt like there's just not enough time to really help students understand what it takes to analyze a text and write about it. So that's my goal. My goal for you is to be able to write about a text that you've analyzed in a way that goes beyond just summary, in a way that goes beyond an evaluation of whether the text was good or not, in a way that really digs into the material so that you come up with some fresh, interesting perspective on the language, on the characters, on the tone, on the plot, the setting, whatever. about the text. I generally like the psychoanalytic perspective of literature. I'm not big into history. Y'all are like, why is she teaching this class? Because I love reading. So yeah, there's like historical perspective, and there's a feminist perspective, and there's formalist perspective where you just talk about the form and the language and things like that. But I like the psychoanalytic perspective, which digs into the nitty-gritty of the text and offers some very interesting perspectives that are not obvious. My goal is for you guys to be able to come up with those non-obvious perspectives. You'll have 3 unit quizzes, so that's the stuff and the chapters that I need you to read in order for you to understand the text better and the context surrounding the texts. So you will have 3 quizzes. Those will be 50% each. 50 points each, 5%. And then you'll have your final essay, which is 25% of your grade. So the discussion boards, the reading response paragraphs, and the unit quizzes are all working to prepare you for that final essay, which I'll probably introduce in week 7 or 8. Okay, so talking a little bit more about these discussion boards, essentially the point is to mimic that in-class discussion that we do not get. The discussion boards ask you to post 5 things. You'll post 3 questions about the text that you're reading. And when you're posting these questions, these aren't questions like, did you like the reading? These aren't questions like, what happened when Huck Finn sailed down the Mississippi or whatever. They're not questions about plot. They're not questions, they're not like, did you do the reading questions? They're not, did you like the reading questions? They're questions that ask your classmates to analyze the text, to look at language, to look at conventions of writing in order to make bigger arguments about the text. So these are questions like, what do you think, or what does the boat in The Open Boat by Stephen Crane, what does the boat symbolize? These are questions like, what do the chrysanthemums symbolize in, I think, John Steinbeck's The Chrysanthemums? What does Emily Dickinson's tone, how does Emily Dickinson's tone reflect her meaning? It's like bigger questions that ask your classmates to do some digging into the text. So you'll ask 3 questions, because remember I said you'll pick 3 readings out of about 6 of them, and you'll read them, and then you'll ask 3 questions, 1 about each of the texts that you read. Then you'll respond in a paragraph to one of your own questions, and then you'll also respond in a paragraph to one of your classmates' questions. That will be the discussion board. So it's very inquiry based. We'll probably have some bumps in the road for the first one. I'm going to grade those sort of, I was originally thinking, let me grade these really leniently, but no, I'm going to grade them really harshly so you understand what I'm looking for, and then in the other ones I'll grade a little bit more leniently. You'll also have close reading paragraphs. Now, with these, again, I'm really looking for you guys to understand the concept of performing a close reading, of digging into the text, of being able to ask and answer questions about the text. And I am also focused on structure. So for these paragraphs, I expect you to have topic sentences, concluding sentences. I expect you to quote the text, to provide context for the quotes that you're going to use, to analyze and interpret those quotes, and to go beyond just like obvious statements about the text. And I'm going to work with you guys when you turn in your assignments. I will be giving you some video feedback I'm going to do as many assignments as I can, although sometimes I'll skip a couple just for time's sake. If I'm having a really heavy week in terms of like things that I have to do, I'll skip video feedback. But for the most part, I'm going to give you, instead of just written feedback, I'm going to go through your assignments, your paragraphs really quickly, and talk about them and talk about like the strengths and the weaknesses in a video form. I found that really helps people. And then you have this literary criticism essay, which you can take any kind of approach you want: historical, feminist, psychoanalytic, formalist. There are others that I cannot think of, like eco-criticism, things like that. You'll employ some form of literary criticism to ask and answer a focused question about your chosen text. It will be at least 1,300 words, which equates to like 4 to 6 pages, something like that. And you will have to include at least 3 research sources. And then there's a rubric that this will be graded on. And then, of course, there's chapter quizzes. The chapter quizzes are based on the 3 chapters, like the 3 different units within our textbook. Each quiz is 25 questions. They're all multiple choice. Blackboard's going to grade those for me. I love multiple choice quizzes because Blackboard just does it for me. Yeah, okay. So that's all the graded stuff. Basically, there's 4 major things that you're doing in class: discussion boards, response paragraphs, quizzes, and a final essay. If you have any questions about this, don't forget to email me. Extra credit self-assessments. So in Blackboard, there are lessons every week that I want you to complete. Now, I don't have quizzes on these lessons. I mean, I do, but I don't have like graded quizzes on these lessons because I don't have time to make, well, that's not true. I'm going to have quizzes. I don't have time to grade all of these quizzes. Blackboard can do that for me though, but I just don't have that extra space in the grade section to force you to sit down and do the lessons and for me to like hold your hand and make sure that you do them. That is not my goal here. So I have these lessons for you. I want you to do the lessons, and as the incentive for you to walk yourself through and they're really short, to walk yourself through these lessons and learn about writing and reading and all sorts of things that you need to learn these lessons in order to be successful in the class. But because I don't have extra space in the grade part, I'm going to give you extra credit for proving that you went through the lesson, essentially. So what you'll do is you'll take a quick self-assessment. It's a 5-question multiple choice quiz at the end of every single lesson, and each one is going to give you 2.5 extra credit points. At the time that I'm making this video, I'm still building the lessons, and I don't know how many total they're going to be, but I can tell you that in like the first week, for example, there will be roughly, I can't count very fast, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-ish lessons. So in the first week, you could earn 7 times 2.5 extra credit points, whatever that is, if you do the math. And you might be thinking like, it's only extra credit, but it might make a difference in the end. And essentially it tells me that you're doing the lessons. I think it's so important for you to be studying these lessons, so I want to give you extra credit for actually doing them. If you have questions, please email me. I'm going to skip that. You guys should all hopefully be aware of the CFCC grading scale, although I've had emails about it in the past. We're on an 8-point grading scale. CFCC is actually thinking about changing this, but as of right now, it's still 8 points. So a 92 is an A. This is unlike some of your other schools. So if you do come from a different school and you're taking like a community college class for the summer, just keep that in mind. The course schedule is linked here. I'm still working on it, so I'm not going to show it to you because that would be pointless. So let's talk about some of the policies. Attendance. I don't take formal attendance. This is an online class. Essentially, your participation in the weekly discussion boards, turning in your assignments, all that stuff kind of counts as attendance, but it's all graded. So I'm not penalizing you for not doing it other than you get a 0. So there's really no formal attendance policy. If you don't log into Blackboard one day, that's not a problem. I understand that stuff happens. Let's see. Make up work late policy. So this is probably the most important policy, the strictest policy that I do have this semester. It's the summer and this class is going to go by really quickly and it's all discussion based. And those are the reasons why my policy is what it is. So if you've taken a class with me in the past and you know that my late policy has been a little bit more lenient than this, then the reason is because this class has to be discussion based, and I just don't think that we will be successful if my policy is any more lenient than this. Okay, so all the assignments are due on Sundays. In the schedule, you'll see, I'll show you an example. You will see, like, this is week 1, assignments to complete. Enrollment verification, that's the only assignment that's not due on Sunday, and that's because Cape Fear sets the deadline for that. But the Unit 1 quiz, the week 1 discussion board, and any extra credit self-assessment, those are all due in week 1, for example, by Sunday, May 27th by 11:59 p.m. So that's gonna be always, it's always gonna be due on Sunday. So if you're one of those students that likes to get all your work done on Monday, that's fine. If you're one of those students that likes to wait until the very last minute and get all your work done on Sunday, okay, that's fine too. I think that with the discussion boards, it's really nice to have students go in and post a question maybe on Monday, post a question on Tuesday, post a question on Wednesday, respond to some questions on Thursday and Friday. But I understand that our lives sometimes just don't work that way. Sometimes you have to just do it all at once, and that's why I've structured the discussion board the way that I have. And there's not really a huge requirement of too much responding to other people, because then I get the situation where nobody wants to do the work until Saturday or Sunday for legit reasons. But then there's always that one student that wants to do the work on Monday and doesn't have anyone to respond to. So it's really confusing. And that's why, honestly, I hate discussion boards. But how can we have discussions in this class without having discussion boards? So that's sort of the, where was I going with this? I don't even know. That's sort of the point of the discussion and for this late policy. So all assignments are due on Sundays. And all assignments will be given a 1-day or 24-hour grace period after the deadline. So what does that mean? The reality is that your assignment is due on Sunday. However, I will still take it if you want to turn it in on Monday, a day late. After that, I won't accept your work. Okay? There's an exception to this, but I'll talk about that in just a second. So what does this mean? This means that if the quiz is due on Sunday, and you forget about it, and you take it on Monday, you can still turn it in. There's no points taken off. You don't have to, do any extra work. Just turn it in on Monday, and you're good. It'll be due. You're basically extending that deadline out 1 day for Monday at midnight. But after that, the submission is going to close, and you can't turn it in. Please do not email me and say, like, I totally forgot. Can you just be lenient with me this one time? Because I will say, no, I'm not going to be lenient with you this one time, because this is the time that will help you remember for all the other times to do your work. And you're like, oh, she's so mean. But that's okay. I'm okay with that. I can handle that. So here's the exception. If you know you need an extension, like something is going on in your life, and you just need an extension. And I understand that stuff comes up. But you have to request your extension 48 hours before the deadline. So if the deadline is Sunday at midnight, then when do you have to request your extension? I'll give you some time to think about it, because I need to think about it too. Friday, right? Yes. You have to ask for your extension by Friday at 11:59 p.m. I will probably always grant you an extension. I've never not granted someone an extension. So I'll give you an extension. We will discuss what you need. Maybe you need 2 extra days. Maybe you need 2.5 extra days. I'm really not going to give you a huge extension, because then you're going to miss the next assignment. We can have a couple days. And in fact, when you email me for an extension, if you could just say like what you need, that would be the most helpful. So email me 48 hours in advance for an extension. The reason I need these extension requests 48 hours in advance is because I'm not going to give you an extension if you're like, well, I just forgot, or I procrastinated and I waited until the last minute. So if it's Sunday at 11:58 p.m. and you're emailing me for an extension, no. You should have already done your work, okay? And I know it's like so confusing for students, because for me, really, I want to give you an extension, but I want you to get your work done. So if you're waiting until Sunday afternoon to do your work, I'm sorry, I'm not going to give you an extension because you should have done your work before the very last minute. Now, if there's anyone in this class that's like, look, Miss Osborne, the only time I have is Sunday to do my work. Like, I cannot do my work any other day in this class. 1, are you sure you want to take an online class? 2, please email me. Like, communicate that to me right now, because I'm not going to believe you if you don't communicate that to me right this minute. So if you have, like, in your life, you have a job and you have kids and you have dogs and you have parents and all this other stuff that gets in the way of being a good student, and that you can only do your work on Sunday or something like that, let me know, because even though I'm trying to be really harsh in this video, I'm not that harsh, and I will work with you, okay? So I'm not trying to scare you away, but let's recap the seriousness of this. All of your assignments are due on Sunday at 11:59 p.m. You can have a 24-hour grace period. You don't have to email me. You just know you have it. Every student gets that 24-hour grace period. If you cannot get your work done within that 24-hour grace period because something is going on in your life that you need an extension for, then you can request an extension as long as you request it 48 hours in advance. If there's a reason that you cannot know about this extension because, like, you can only do your work on Sundays or something like that, let me know that right now. Go ahead and email it to me right now. Pause this video. Email it to me. Okay. The only assignment that cannot be turned in late and that is not due on Sunday is your enrollment verification assignment, and that is due Friday, May 25th by 11:59 p.m. Okay. Please email me if you have any questions about this. If there's anything that I said that's not clear, I want to clarify for you because I will not adjust this policy. So what else is important in this class? The plagiarism policy is important. This is, if you've taken a class with me before, you'll know that the plagiarism policy, this is my policy always. So if you plagiarize, and it happens, you know what? It didn't happen last semester. This is the first semester that I didn't have, that I know of, plagiarism in my class. So if you do plagiarize, and it does happen, and it happens for really understandable reasons, but it's unacceptable, but it's understandable. It's a weird conundrum there. You'll get a 0 for your assignment. You will not be able to make the assignment up. You'll just get a 0. So that means if you plagiarize, you can't really plagiarize a quiz, so don't worry about that. You can use your book for the quiz. That's not a problem. But if you plagiarize your discussion board, if you plagiarize your response paragraph, or if you plagiarize your essay, you're going to get a 0. And that's for intentional or unintentional plagiarism. Unintentional plagiarism means like, oops, I didn't know that I couldn't just copy and paste this thing into my essay. You should know that you can't do that. But anyway, so you'll get a 0 the first time. If you do it again, you're going to fail the class automatically. You're going to fail the class. I'm going to report you to the dean of students. That is just what will happen. So it doesn't matter if it's like a big assignment or a small assignment. You can plagiarize 2 discussion boards and you're going to fail. So don't do it. If you think you're going to plagiarize, email me. Okay, we can talk it through. Like, I'm really worried. I feel like I'm going to plagiarize because, you know, fill in the blank. And I will talk you down off the ledge, off that plagiarism ledge. Okay, so technology, I literally am dealing right now with a student in my class that I teach at Central Piedmont Community College in Charlotte as well, and I have a student who swears up and down that they turned in their final essay, but I never got it. So I don't know if that was like, you're lying to me, or Blackboard had a glitch or something. And there's nothing that I can do. Grades have been submitted. I cannot and will not make any changes unless you can absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, prove to me that Blackboard glitched out. Okay, so this is an example of technology failing, possibly, or user error. I do not know. Either way, your inability to use Blackboard correctly, your internet breaking, you not having access to internet, none of that is an excuse for not turning in an assignment. Now, if something is going on technology-wise in your house, find a backup plan. Figure out your backup plan right now. I wish there were Port City Javas in Charlotte. I think there might be one, but I don't know where it is. Go to Port City, Java. They have free Wi-Fi. I think McDonald's has free Wi-Fi. Find a friend. Bang on your neighbor's door. Figure out how to get Wi-Fi if that's the issue. If your computer breaks, go to CFCC's library and use one of their computers. Go to the public library and use one of their computers. Find a friend who has a computer that you can use at the last minute. Do all your work in Google Drive so that you don't ever lose it. I mean, I've heard so many things ranging from I dropped my computer and it shattered and I lost everything to my little sister. I heard this one. My little sister and I are having a war and she went in my computer and deleted everything. Not my problem. Like, I know this is so harsh. You're like, my teacher is so mean. I know. But it's not my problem. Okay, so it's not a reason, and these are wild things, Yeah, I totally believe you. I really do think these things happen, and I also believe that there are people that are just telling me some story because they didn't get their work turned in, and that's what they did in high school, and it worked for them. It's not going to work here. So technology broken or working or whatever, if you can't figure it out. Know how to use it now, and if something happens, make sure you have a plan B. Okay, the help desk can possibly help you. I can help you. I really do understand Blackboard a lot, and I can send you a video to walk you through something if you don't know how to do it, but you have to let me know that you don't know in advance of a deadline. Okay, so just keep that in mind. I will work with you, but I will not I will not give you an extension if it's past the deadline, and I will not be super lenient with you if it's a technology failing issue. Okay, I hope that makes sense, but if not, send me an email. Okay, Netiquette. So because we're reading stuff that is very, very recent to post-slavery, there may be some language, there is some language that we now know is completely unacceptable and offensive to use. However, the people that are writing what we are reading, it's not everything, it's just a couple things, do not. That language like that was perfectly fine. Well, they thought that it was okay to publish. And so we are still going to cite these things, and we're going to quote them, and we're going to talk about them. And netiquette means that we can be reasonable adults talking about challenging things, challenging topics, challenging language in a respectful way so that all parties involved can understand our perspective, but that we are not offending people. Now, yes, I think we kind of live in this world where, everything is offensive. My hair is brown, so I'm offending someone. But I also do think that there's legit offensive stuff out there, and you know the difference, okay? So approach this class with an open mind. Approach this class with the understanding that you should respect all parties involved in the discussion, and approach this class with the notion that if someone is not actively trying to offend you, then they're probably not being offensive. But there's more information on the netiquette policy in Blackboard, which I'll talk about in a little while, and we'll go over a little bit of a lesson in the first week on it. Essentially, be respectful and treat other people the way that you want to be treated. That golden rule, do that, and you'll be good. I've never really had an issue with netiquette, so hopefully that doesn't happen this semester. Okay, instructor response time. I'm going to try to make sure that I respond to all your emails within 24 hours. You can also text message me on the Remind app, and I'll usually, unless it's 3 o'clock in the morning, I'll usually message you right back as quickly as I can. So please message me through there if you have an urgent question. One time someone messaged me on there and I tried to respond, and I think that something was wrong with my phone, which is not an excuse. And they never got it, and they messaged me 4 days later, and I felt really bad. So if you don't hear right back from me and you message me on Remind, send me an email. You do not have to ask me. This is kind of contradicts what I just said, but anyway, if you email me something, you do not have to email me again to ask, did I get the email, if it hasn't been 24 hours. So if it's been like 3 days and I haven't emailed you back, then yes, please email me again. In terms of grading, quizzes are graded automatically because they're multiple choice. I'm trying to do that to take some extra stress off of my plate and stuff I have to do. But for everything else, it'll probably take me about a week to get your assignments graded. And then I think your final essay is due like 5 days before I have to turn grades into Cape Fear. So it'll take me like 5 days to grade that. All right, all this other stuff is stuff that I have to put on my syllabus. So I'm going to go through it really quickly because you've probably heard it a million times if you've been a student at Cape Fear for any length of time. Religious observance policy. If you have a religion and you want to observe it, that's totally fine. You can do that. I really don't think it's going to affect our class this semester, but if you just want to cover all your bases, then go talk to the Vice President of Student Services and they will let you have an absence, but I don't even take attendance, so I don't think this matters. Don't smoke in class. We don't have a classroom, so if you want to smoke in your house, whatever, do it. PSA, smoking isn't healthy. Okay. Contingency plan. Really, this contingency plan that's in the syllabus that I have to put in the syllabus is there for face-to-face classes. So let me go over the contingency plan that you'll find in Blackboard. So here's the contingency plan for Blackboard. Technology can fail and it can do it in a terrible time. Don't wait until your assignment is due in order to do it. That's terrible practice. Look, I did it when I was a student, I get it, but don't do it. If your technology gets in the way, contact the help desk, contact me, let me know what's going on. But make sure that you email me your assignment. So one, you'll turn it in on Blackboard the minute your computer starts working again. You know, if your internet is down, turn it in on Blackboard the minute you can. An email to me is not enough. I need everything in Blackboard to prove that I have your assignment because stuff gets lost. And y'all, I didn't want to use the word stuff there. I wanted to use a different word, but I'm not going to do that. Discussion boards, email it to me. Send it via email. All other assignments, send it via email. Everything, send via email if it's broken. If it's working, if Blackboard is working and it's working for you, please don't email it to me. Please put it in on Blackboard. If you don't know how to use Blackboard, I have helpful resources in here. There's tutorials. There are pictures. I think that's everything for the contingency plan. So your contingency plan is if your computer or Blackboard is not working, send me an email. Like, email me your stuff. Don't just tell me it's not working. Email me your assignment. And then the minute your computer is working again, or if Blackboard's down, if the minute Blackboard's working again, put it in Blackboard. Okay. Communication is key. Accommodation of special needs. If you got anything that you need, like extra time on quizzes, or I can't think of anything else. Whatever, but if you need it, you just let me know. Disability Services is going to give you a form, and you will, I don't know, you fill it out or they fill it out. Anyway, you have this form with information on it, and then you send it to me, and I know what you need, and we can accommodate you. There's not anything I won't do if you need it, but you just have to go through the right channels. What else do you need to know? My CFCC, you guys know about that. I don't have it up, so I'm not going to show it to you. But it's that portal that you get all the stuff. English Department Plagiarism Policy. It's here. You can read it. My policy is more strict than the English Department Plagiarism Policy. Or I guess not necessarily more strict, but just more specific in terms of what happens if you plagiarize once versus twice. So you have this here, but my policy is the policy to abide by. If you go into a computer classroom at any point in this semester, don't bring any food or drink. Okay. All right. That's all. That's the syllabus. Be on the lookout for a video that covers Blackboard navigation. I'm going to go through that with you as well. All right, y'all. Email me if you have any questions.